I'm here at PAX East 2017, and I'm checking out this very interesting game called Starfighter Incorporated. They just went live on Kickstarter, and I'm chatting with the lead level designer now. Good sir, could you tell the folks at home your name?
Whitmore Benoit.
Pleasure to meet you, Mr. Benoit. Now, you're working on this Starfighter Inc. It seems like a pretty interesting sort of space game. Is this anything like Elite?
It's similar to Elite that we want to create, an arena battle type game, but we really want to focus on true real-life physics, Newtonian physics in space, with frictionless flight and having to deal with a ship that does not fly, similar to a plane in a friction environment.
I see. So you guys are going with kind of a more hard sci-fi angle?
Much more hard sci-fi.
Very cool. So how long has this been in development?
It's been in development about 4 years now, and it's all just a passion project for us. We all have other jobs, but we take our time after work to come work on this all together. We have not put any money into it at this point. It's just all people really excited to make this game a reality.
Cool. So how long have you been in the game industry?
Maybe 6 years. Yep. The original Zelda on Nintendo back when I was like 3 years old was probably what got me into it, and then I loved them all the way growing up, and I started studying them in college, and I just fell in love with it.
Oh, that's awesome.
I love game design, yeah.
Okay, that is awesome. So now you work as a level designer. So for folks at home, what does your job what does a day look like for you?
Basically, so I do a lot of research about different areas around Saturn where we're putting our levels right now, so that I can come up with interesting areas where we can have space battles. Right now, the level that we're doing is a moon called Daphnis. It's one of Saturn's moons, and we found it a really cool moon to place the level around, because Daphnis actually, its orbit is in the same plane as the rings of Saturn, and it's right in the middle of the rings, and actually as it goes around in orbit, it pushes all the small meteorites away and creates a gap as it orbits around the planet. And what's even cooler than that is that at certain points, when its gravity's strong enough, about 2 times a year, it actually causes waves that ripple through the rings of Saturn as it passes by.
So you're planning on incorporating this into the game?
Absolutely.
Okay, that sounds...
Visually, it'll be absolutely beautiful.
Okay, that is something I'm looking forward to seeing. So now, what are some of the challenges that you've encountered so far?
The challenges is that, space is big and empty. And if you just leave it big and empty, you run into, if it's big and empty, you run into basically like jousting matches where, people don't really get close to each other and you fly by each other way too fast. And so we want to, as a level designer, we want to create situations where people actually get close to each other, and so you get into close combat, which is a lot more fun and engaging, and it's a lot more fulfilling.
It would appear that a second player has entered the battle. Sir, can you pop on into frame? Hey, so can you tell the folks at home your name?
Well, you talked to me yesterday.
Oh, yes, technical difficulties. Yeah.
But David Westman, I'm the lead designer.
Pleasure to meet you, David. Well, meet you again. So can you tell the folks at home a little bit more about what your job entails?
I oversee the vision of the game, guide the other designers and delegate tasks, and basically oversee how everything comes together. Work very closely with the programming team and the art team to define that vision, and I'm the guy that makes everybody very frustrated.
He's the guy that tells us we're wrong when we're wrong. It's like, this is awesome. And he's like, but that's not real, so it's not going in the game.
No FTL travel,
No, none of that. And it was funny because at first there was no small amount of tension between me and the rest of the team because of that. You put a lot of work into something, and then I come along and say, yeah, that's nice, but it's not quite right yet. And as time went on, though, as the rest of the team started to understand the vision better and develop their own interest in doing the research and learning more, Our favorite website is Atomic Rockets, and everybody's first impression is, oh my God, there's so much here. How could you possibly grasp it all? But it's just like every now and then, it's like I'm going to go visit, I'm going to read a few things, and then move on. And you just slowly but surely build up all this information and knowledge. And then when a design question comes up, it's like, wait a minute, there's a page on Atomic Rockets that talks about this. Let's go look at that. And it's like one of our goals is to get the Atomic Rockets seal of approval for hard science. And
Wow.
I find like a lot of times the limitations that we put on ourselves, it really drives innovation to come up with really cool gameplay aspects that, I mean, really is what makes our game unique. And we even, with our engineer, I spent 3 weeks talking about how we're just going to deal with blood in space. You know, all the movies say that like you freeze when you take your mask off and your blood would freeze right away, which is absolutely wrong. And because, yeah, without pressure, your blood basically vaporizes and sprays out of you, and it would just be a blood mist. Yeah, I don't know. It's pretty cool. Yeah, because in space you don't die from freezing. Your body temperature is too warm and will keep you alive long enough to not freeze, but you're going to choke out, basically, that you're going to die from asphyxiation, and then later on down the line you'll freeze.
And that whole explosive decompression, and oh, there's a tiny little hole, and you're going to get sucked out through that hole. No, that's not the way it works. In fact, the TV show The Expanse, one of the early episodes had exactly that kind of a situation where a railgun round went through a compartment, and the rest of the people in there is like, oh, but they immediately went about patching it, because it's like it's not sucking everybody out, but it is going to suck the air out, so do something about that hole.
Okay, I'm glad that you guys are going the extra step for realism. Now, for folks at home who might not have heard, you're an industry veteran. How did you get your start in games?
Well, we did go over this. Did the recording not? Oh, sorry. Okay. Oh, damn. Okay, well, I started out in the game industry at LucasArts as a tester. Before that, I'd always wanted to do games. I've been a gamer since I was a little kid. It just never occurred to me that you could actually make a living making games. And then a buddy of mine had gotten a job as a tester there. And so I told him, hey, well, the next time they're hiring, just let me know. And so that opportunity came along. They hired me. I wanted to work on a World War II air combat game because that's what he was working on. And so I made it clear during the interview that I had a lot of knowledge about World War II, and especially all the aircraft types. And then they told me, yeah, but we need you to work on Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis. I'm not really a fan of that kind of game. Well, do you want the job or not? oh, I'll take the job. Oh, it's a good game. It's just not my style. And my friend who was on the World War II game was keeping the game from shipping because he would find a repeatable crash bug every day. And the rule was, if there's a repeatable crash bug, it's got to be fixed. We can't ship. And so they finally decided, they were very frustrated that he was keeping the game from shipping, and they realized he hadn't taken vacation in a while, so they said, okay, you got to take some vacation time now or you're going to lose it. And that was like, well, we need somebody to step in for him. That was my opportunity. Larry Holland was the developer of that game, and I also learned that Larry was not an employee of LucasArts. He was an independent contractor. Like, oh, well, I want to work for you. So I went out of my way to make a good impression and convince him to hire me. He hired me to be the lead internal tester of his next project, which turned out to be X-Wing. And then just being there, and I became the in-house Star Wars expert, and when we had the mission builder ready, he invited me and about 6 other guys, show me what you can do. And so we all dove in, and my buddy Dave Maxwell and I were the ones that proved to be the most prolific and the most proficient. So we became the official mission builders. And so I worked on that whole series up through X-Wing Alliance. And after that, the market shifted to console games, and for some reason, people just stopped buying complicated flight combat sims, and it got a lot more expensive to make them. So big companies were a lot more risk averse and didn't want to invest in them. And so I did a bunch of console games. I did Bloodwake, original Xbox title, The Chronicles of Riddick: Escape from Butcher Bay, Saints Row, the first one, and it was the last game that I shipped from a regular studio was Death Jr. Root of Evil for the PSP, and then I went into teaching. And I've been teaching for the last years, and the NHTV Breda, University of Applied Sciences, where it's a really awesome school. All of the faculty are industry veterans. We have a very unique program where it's all about learning the roles, and it's all project based, and there's no regular classes, there's no tests. We just put you in a team and you make games, and you learn the different skills that you need. And if you want to be an artist or a designer or a programmer, yeah, and our students do just amazing work. They get snapped up as soon as they graduate. Whenever they go to do work placement before graduation, the companies are always, these guys are fantastic. Could you please send us more? So that's a lot of fun, and that allows me to spot promising talent and invite them to come work with me on Starfighter. And our lead technical artist, one of our sound designers, and there's another guy, I'm forgetting his name, I'm sorry. Well, those are from my school. From the school that Jack Mimeas teaches at, we've gotten, I think, half a dozen people. Savannah College of Art and Design, a very good school. And yeah, these guys are just awesome. And that mix of experienced veterans and really motivated, creative young talent is a great combo. So we give them the direction and the guidance, and they supply the raw energy and enthusiasm, and you can see the results. The game is just turning out fantastic. Now here's Charlie. He's our lead artist. Is it just about to graduate?
Ladies and gentlemen, a third player has entered the round. This is Charlie, yeah. Charlie, so can you tell us a little about your job?
Sure. So I'm a 3D artist at the studio, but I also do the art direction. So the main purpose, obviously, is trying to create an aesthetic that is not only realistic, but that looks really cool at the same time. And that's really difficult to do because we've got to think about little rivets and seams on ships. When we've got materials that are like self-healing, that can actually weld themselves together, do we need rivets and do we need seams? And if you remove them, does that lose a lot of the aesthetic character of the ships? So it's a matter of creating assets that people enjoy, but that still look really believable and realistic.
Yeah, no, I hear you on, but that is, I mean, like, because I know that you guys are aiming high for realism, so your materials need to be realistic, but at the same time, people need to be able to believe them. So, Russ, how did you get into the game industry?
Well, I'm still a student, actually. I created some work that got noticed by some of the team members at Impeller, and they just called me up and they said, do you want to work with us? And I worked my way up from a 3D artist to art manager and then art director. So now I'm leading the art on the studio alongside the leads, and I mean, it's amazing. They're great people.
I'm obligated to ask this to everybody. What is your favorite game of all time?
It's actually Half-Life 2. I guess what got me into wanting to be a game developer was creating mods for Half-Life 2 and the Source engine.
Okay, that is a very good start. A lot of people get their start modding games. So now, what's been your biggest challenge, would you say?
My biggest talent? Oh, challenge. I was like, it's going to be difficult to say. Challenge would be probably what I mentioned earlier about the level of detail you have to go, especially with when you've got ship customization. You have to think about the modularity. You have to have the right naming conventions for the actual components. So you have to think about how the game is going to be 10 years down the line, you know, when we have hundreds of different ships and hundreds of different combinations of ships, thousands maybe, who knows. So you've got to make sure the parts fit together properly, and some parts shouldn't fit together properly because you don't want unlimited customization, otherwise you might make a ridiculous ship that just can't fly. But there might be some skill to it, you know, and you have to actually think about how you build these ships, and if you build them incorrectly, it just might not fly. So that's difficult. Yeah, that's a big challenge.
Now, I'd also like to ask, what's your favorite part of your work?
Probably sitting down, watching a good movie, and just making assets, making spaceships. We've got great concept artists that make really realistic 3D concepts of spaceships that are super, super detailed. I can just sit down with the concept and I can just model it, and it's great fun. Yeah.
Very nice. So now, for folks at home, where can they get their hands on Starfighter Inc?
Well, we launch our Kickstarter in about an hour, so you can back us, and then we're planning on, I don't know the exact date, but before the end of this year, we're going to ship at least a minimum viable product, which will be described in the Kickstarter. We're going to keep working on the game regardless, and the game is just going to get bigger and better as we go. We'll add features, add new ships, add new custom skins. It'll just keep growing.
Also, what platforms can we expect this on?
PC with VR support. We're partnered with Oculus and with HTC Vive, and then also the OS VR. So I think we've covered all the major players in PC VR, and yeah, that's a really exciting part of it too. It's the VR well, I'm old enough to remember the 90s when the first VR hype happened, and it was premature then, right? It just wasn't good enough, and it was still way too expensive. Now it's getting to be almost affordable for regular people. So the next couple of years are going to be really dramatic and interesting.
Amen to that. So now, if you had any, because you're an industry veteran, do you have any advice for somebody who wants to get started?
Make games. It's the barriers to entry are so low right now. You can download Unreal 4 for free, and there's all kinds of tutorials online. There's communities that people get together and help each other out. So there's no excuse not to just dive in and start doing it. And whatever you want to do, whatever makes you happy and interests you, whether it's art, design, programming, just dive in and try different things. The other thing. Don't be 24/7, all I think about is games, because you will not make good games that way. You actually have to understand something about the world and life and have experiences, because then that informs what you do in the games and makes your games more real for everybody else.
Yeah, no, it's good to have like a broad range of knowledge when you're making any sort of creative work. Yeah. Now, do you have like a background in hard sci-fi? I just want to ask.
Yes, I wanted to be an astronaut when I was growing up, and so I took the math and science really seriously. But by the time I was getting old enough where that might be a career possibility, the space program was in disarray, and I changed my path to be a rock star. I was going to be a heavy metal guitar god. That didn't quite work out, although I did tour North America and Europe doing sound for various metal bands. And it was after that I went into games.
Expect some really good music in the game, just saying.
Oh, will you be doing the music?
No, but I will be working with our creative director to choose really good music, and we've had a lot of people volunteer to make music for us.
We got secrets, folks.
At one point, we were in discussions with Marty O'Donnell. I think that's the right, yeah, from You Know Who He Is, yeah, and because he loves the game, and things worked out really well for him with his lawsuit, so he just started his own studio. But no, we've got so many people that we've met over the years that we've been working on this project that are excited about it, and like me, they have day jobs, but they've offered to help however they can, and so we're very confident that we're going to have a lot of good music, hopefully in different styles. I like really aggressive, violent thrash music. To me, that's what combat music should be, right? But others are less enthusiastic about that, and that's fair. You want to have the music that makes you happy and feels right to you.
One of the great things about being on PC is we may even be allowed to bring in the capabilities of people playing their own music from their computer, or putting images that they have on their computer onto their like ship dashboard. Perhaps maybe they wanted a photo of their dog on there. That's the great thing about being on PC. You know, in Counter-Strike, where you can upload your own image for like a spray on a wall. These are the capabilities we have being on PC, which is really cool.
So what you're saying is maybe as a stretch goal, you might have Spotify support or something like that.
We can look into it.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that one, but yeah, why not? Let's look into that.
Yeah, because a few games have it, and I mean it works pretty well. I know Robot Roller Derby Disco Dodgeball lets you do your own soundtrack. So yeah, you guys got options. So
Yeah.
but very nice. So we'll be keeping an eye out for Starfighter Inc. Good sirs, it has been a pleasure chatting with you. I hope you enjoy your PAX.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for talking.
Thank you.